Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Andrea Luna Bocanegra, and I have the privilege of introducing our AD18 Social Justice League progressives. These are the folks that are running to represent us at the assembly, at the delegate seats for our county. So I'm very excited to introduce all of these awesome folks. And I wanted to start off with thanking everybody for taking a Friday night and joining us. We're going to try to make this fun. We're going to try to make this informative as well. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So thank you, everybody, again, for joining us tonight. I'm going to do a quick little presentation about what an ADEM is for folks that are not sure what that means and what you're voting for. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. And once I'm done with that, I am going to let the candidates take over, and they are going to let us know who they are, what they're about, and give us the reason why they're decided to run for office, or what made them decide to run for the seat. So let me go ahead and get started real quick. I'm going to share my screen, and I apologize. I'm going to do my best. I'm not so tech savvy, so let's see how this goes. Let's see here. Okay, I'm hoping folks can see my screen here. If I can get a thumb up from somebody that is able to see my screen. Awesome. Okay, great. So this is our Social Justice League slate. These are all the awesome folks that have come together to run for the delegate seats for Assembly District 18. So we are helping them out. I am an elected official for the Alameda Democratic Central Committee, and I see the need of getting folks that look like me, represent me, and are part of the community. So I am so excited to be here supporting all these folks that are running. I'm going to walk real quick through the whole ADEM election so everyone can understand what that is about. ADEMs, basically ADEMs are delegates. So there are three different tiers of delegates. The first tier gets elected by the officials. The elected officials have that 1/3 of the seats. The Alameda County Central Committee has a second third, and the final third are folks that we get to vote for during these elections. So why are these elections important? Well, because these folks help decide what conversation goes on during these meetings, during these assembly meetings for the California Democratic Party. So real quick, in these elections, like I said, we decide a third of the delegates, and they get to represent us. At these events, all these delegates make the decisions of what the party's platform will be, as well as what we get to vote on during the elections in November. So here's the breakdown. There's approximately 2,900 people that are part of this committee. And it's basically a group of folks that get together and decide what we get to vote for during the elections. The third of the delegates consist of elected party officials, Democratic members of the Congress, party officials, statewide officials, state legislatures, and their nominees, as well as 6 people that they each get to appoint. Second tier is consistent of the delegates from the county. So each of the 58 counties in California get to send delegates based on the number of Democrats in their county. In this case, Alameda County is our county here locally. So if you all remember that long list of candidates in that March primary of folks that you voted for, Well, these are the folks that got those seats for the Democratic Central Committee. And finally, that last tier is where we all come in as residents of the county. So our assembly is broken down. We are Alameda, Oakland, and San Leandro. We are Assembly District 18. And our representative for our assembly is Rob Bonta, which we recently voted for him as well in the elections of November. And our representative gets to appoint 5 delegates. And where we come in is that you get to vote for 14 people, 7 self-identified females and 7 other than self-identified females in these elections. So it is so important, if you would want representation, to get these folks elected in these seats. So this is why it's so key for us to educate folks about what the ADEM elections are about. It's important that you register for these. These are not automatically registered when you voted back in November. You actually have to go into the website I have listed here that I will share in the chat as well, and you must register to vote by Monday, January 11th. So I'm gonna pass this on to the candidates because this is who we want to hear from. This is who we want to know and let them introduce themselves and also ask them, why are they running? What is their platform? And, what brought them to, want to do this crazy thing of running for a seat. So I'm going to pass this along to Rodney. I'm going to stop my screen real quick and I'm going to change my view so everybody, we can all see each other and have that open conversation. So Rodney, you want to take it away?
Sure. Thank you so much, Andrea. Thank you for your leadership and all of your work in the community to bring progressive voices to our county Democratic Party and really fight for progressive issues and social justice. We're so grateful to have your support and your leadership and your guidance. As a first-time candidate, this has been really great. And so I really appreciate you and all your help. Good evening, everybody. My name is Rodney Nickens, and I'm a candidate for a delegate to the California Democratic Party for Assembly District 18. My pronouns are he, him, his. I live in the city of Oakland. I love Oakland. I've been here since 2013. I came here for school and I never left. And I've been super immersed and embedded in this community. I've had the opportunity to serve on several Democratic clubs. In my day job, I work in San Francisco for a nonprofit fighting for affordable housing. And I think we can all recognize that housing justice is a critical issue, not just for our assembly district, but for the entire state of California. And our region, the Bay Area, is ground zero. I'm running to be a delegate to the California Democratic Party because I think we all recognize that we are at a critical inflection point in our country. We witnessed a historic election in Georgia this week. We elected the first Black Democratic senator in United States history from the state of Georgia to the United States Senate. And the next day we witnessed unprecedented backlash. And I think that's the story that we have, that we all know of America. And I think it's important, it's incumbent at this moment that we have real leadership that represents the community, that looks like the community, that's in touch with the community, and that can speak with and on behalf of the community. And so that's why I'm running. It's about racial justice, it's about affordable housing, it's about social justice, and it's about holding our Democratic Party accountable to the values that they espouse and they claim to talk about, and really hoping them to walk the walk and talk the talk. And so that's what this is all about for me. And I'm excited to be a part of this dynamic slate of social justice advocates and grassroots community leaders who are going to not only take these issues to the Democratic Party, but are going to continue to fight for these issues every single day in our assembly district and on behalf of our neighbors, our friends, and our families, and the essential workers that are really holding it down for us right now in this pandemic. And so thank you so much for participating and for listening this evening. And I'm looking forward to having this conversation with everyone. And I'll pass it on to Cheney.
Thank you, Rodney. Good evening, everybody. My name is Cheney Turner. My pronouns are them, they, she. I'm an Oakland native. Currently, I sit on the Oakland Cannabis Commission's Commissioner at Large. a lot of my work is around cannabis equity and just equity in general. I've also been a community advocate for 2 decades, really starting during, all my life, pretty much. In junior high, I was started getting involved in the leadership that went on, to high school. And just as someone who cares in general, just shows up on behalf of the community, and really started to get more active during the Occupy movement. I'm running because, I'm a little frustrated today. I've been frustrated all week. A friend of mine was just robbed downtown Oakland. And, I'm running because the Democratic Party, I have very little faith in, just to be honest. I feel that we have people who are in positions to do the right thing and position themselves as, progressive Democrats, but really they're just neoliberals. And we need to really have change. We have seen what has been going on the past 4 years, actually longer than that, right? The past few decades, especially in regards to the safety of Black people and Black bodies in this country. We have seen and we have witnessed, pretty much the deterioration of our city, and our state. And it's time to get real. It's time to get people who actually are not afraid to speak up, against the machine. And that might not be something that most people would say when running for, public office, but that's just how I feel. And that is why I'm running. Yes, we have a new administration coming in. I don't have faith in them either. And so we have to start, locally. We can, look to DC, but we don't have the right people in place statewide, right, to get the people that we need to continue the fight on, Capitol Hill in DC. And so, I'm running because, I just want to really make a difference, and make a difference not just for myself, but for generations that's coming behind us, for, not only, Black people, but queer and trans people, and, homeless people. And so I'm running because we need to, sorry, I was going to use some foul language. I'm running because we need real progressive radical change and not fake.
No need to be apologetic. We're real, so.
My bad. And are we doing popcorn still? Okay. I'll go ahead and pass it on to Robbie. I'm sorry, I think I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Is it?
Rabia?
Okay.
Yeah, Rabia. I'm sorry.
Close enough. Close enough. Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry I popped in just a little bit late, but I've actually prepared something because my heart is just broken about the events that have occurred recently in this nation, and what it means to all of us, even us running for these local elected positions. First, I want to acknowledge the events that occurred recently, and I'm going to be using very blunt language, when white supremacist domestic terrorists were invited by a sitting president to stage a coup to prevent the counting of electoral votes, to certify Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as the president and vice president-elect of the United States. This was an unsettling and startling event. that has repercussions throughout the world. First, it highlights that white terrorists are given better treatment than lawful, peacefully assembled Black and other protesters. When we in the activist community stand by and watch our brothers and sisters in the streets maced, shot, beaten, lose eyes, broken bones, and go to jail, we know that, that law enforcement is more than capable. We know that law enforcement is more than capable of controlling crowds, but apparently not if they have white skin, are waving Confederate and Nazi flags and breaking down the doors to our Capitol. People are going without jobs and food right here in the Bay Area. Families are struggling. Just recently, a $600 stimulus check was sent out. The jokes abound about how in this day and age, when rents are $2,000 a month on average, $600 can begin to address the losses families are suffering. We have seen COVID ravage Los Angeles and now increasing in San Diego and the Bay. A new variant of COVID is apparent, not just the UK variant, but a new American variant. We have been held captive by large numbers of people who refuse to shelter in place, wear masks, and utilize the tools we all have to prevent the spread of COVID. Black and brown people succumb to the virus more than anyone. They work service jobs, they work restaurant, hotel jobs, construction, fast food. They come in contact with the public more often and more closely, and that puts them at higher risk. Hospitals and their staffs are overwhelmed right here in the Bay Area. The vaccine promised is now in short supply and not reaching those at highest risk. We are still reeling from the year 2020 and the deaths of Black people at the hands of police and their white supremacist minions. I am campaigning to be elected as a ADEM because we need new blood in the democratic politics process. We've seen how the Black vote, how Black women have pushed this nation forward, though it goes kicking and screaming. Progressive used to be a word full of meaning, but now it has been co-opted, and I will use another term to describe how I lean in politics. I am a dynamic Democrat, not just progressive, but dynamic, meaning I want change and I am not willing to wait for the slow grinding wheels of politics to decide. I want it now for all those who have and will be affected by the latent progressives in this party. This is an exciting time to be stepping up locally and statewide, and I hope that we can make even a small difference. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, Rabia. You want to popcorn it to another candidate?
Yes, I will. Catherine.
Thank you, Rabia. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking time to hear from my Slate mates and myself. I'm really glad that we all found our way here. I'm Catherine O'Toole, and I'm running to be an ADEM delegate in Assembly District 18. One of the reasons I decided to run for ADEM is because until 2 years ago, I hadn't heard about what ADEM delegates were. It's a humble but a really important influential role within the party, and I think that a lot of people like myself don't fully understand how it works. I'm running because I'd like the opportunity to organize with other delegates to help take progressive issues from the realm of campaign promises and talking points to reality. Like a lot of progressives, I tend to feel frustrated at the pace of progress. We want things to move faster, especially on the issues that make a real life or death difference to people, like healthcare, policing, and climate. In the last few years, a lot of these issues that we hold so dear as progressives have become really popular. Many of the Democrats currently holding office in our state have run on these progressive issues, and the state party platform currently reflects values that are more progressive than our laws reflect. There's a disconnect somewhere between what we all want and what we're actually doing as a party. I think it's easy to feel cynical about that disconnect, but I'm running because I think that in this moment, it's our duty to keep pushing forward. I think a lot of times when we're looking to bring big change into reality, whether it's statewide single payer or a Green New Deal, it's intimidating to get that first step going. There's a lot of desire for things to get better, but I think maybe people are waiting for someone else to make the first big, bold move. And I think that all of us are a little bit tired of waiting. As a grassroots organizer, I know that when we work together, we can accomplish so much more than when we can alone. And I would like to serve as your ADEM so I can bring that coalition building energy to organizing with other ADEMs across the state to move the progressive policies that we need from an item on the platform or a talking point in a speech into real life. I know that it'll take a lot of work, and I would really appreciate your support. Thank you for showing up tonight, and I look forward to working together to move our party forward. And that's it. I would love to pass to Marissa.
Thanks, Catherine. Hi, everyone. It's so good to be here with you. I'm Marissa Zuckerman. I use she, her pronouns. And I live and was born and raised in Oakland. And yeah, I'm running. Yeah, I was resonating a lot with what Catherine just said. And I think the reason that I'm running is because I believe in us. And I come out of youth organizing. I'm 26, and a lot of the time when people, when I say something like that, people might kind of give me a scoff or treat young people as young and naive. But I think the deeper thing behind that is that all of us here on this slate are running because we believe in the power of people. And we know and have seen the movements and ancestors that have come before us make the kind of transformative change over and over again that we're really needing right now. I mostly am involved in climate justice organizing. I founded the Sunrise Bay Area chapter about 3.5 years ago and helped grow it to an organization of over 1,500 young people from across the Bay Area who are fighting for a Green New Deal and everything that entails. And when we talk about a Green New Deal, of course, that includes climate justice, environmental justice, but it also includes housing, the Green New Deal for public housing. It includes education, it includes jobs, it includes racial and economic justice, because we know that these crises are so deeply connected at a very root level. And the solutions also have to be interwoven and intersectional as well. Not only because you need a mass movement across difference, across movements in order to be big enough to win, which I believe is true, but also because the sources of where these different systems come from all stem from the same place. And I think that's what makes me feel so inspired to be running alongside my other slate mates, is because I see a similar vision that we all hold for our district, for the state. And even though many of us are no fans of the Democratic Party, we're running because we believe it must do better, and it needs to be a party of everyday working people. And it's and I'm here because I want to fight for it, and I'm so done just watching it be taken over. I think I'll end there, but I'm really honored to be running. Also a first-time candidate, and it's been such a joy to get to learn more about electoral politics. I want every young person to know that we can and should be running for office, and that we should have representatives that look like the communities we live in. So that's why I'm doing this. And let's see here. I will pass it to my Sunrise Movement friend and comrade, Alan.
Thank you, Mo. So yeah, today is a special day for me in particular because I'm Alan Marling, he, them, and hours ago, Twitter finally banned Donald Trump. I began using projection activism as a way to exercise my freedom of speech. I began that close to 4 years ago, advocating for this private company to stop trying to profit off the hate speech and incendiary tweets of this white supremacist. I told them that the public would be better served and safer if they stopped amplifying his words. 4 years later, of course, far later than I would have liked, but they have finally banned Trump, so I'm celebrating that at least. I began projecting at Twitter, but since then, I quickly realized that the projection activism can be even more powerful elsewhere across the Bay, around Assembly District 18. Otherwise, I've done it in Alameda. I went down to San Jose, and projected at Facebook as well. And I projected at the federal building so much that they even installed lights to try to block me. I filed a Freedom of Information Act request to discover that, yes, they installed those lights just to try to stop me from projecting there, but I can still do that there as well. I'm also a member of the Sunrise Movement. In fact, one of the Sunrise Movement initiatives is we're trying to get more young people and Sunrise members into positions of leadership into elected office. So that's why I'm running for the ADEM. And specifically, if I get enough votes and am elected as an assembly delegate, I will. The reason I joined this slate is because we're all activists here. We're all local activists, and I'll apply the same determination that drove me to do so much projection across the Bay Area in pursuing policies and endorsements in the Democratic Party, which represent California's core progressive values. We voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary. I worked on his campaign. I was happy to work on Carol Fife's campaign as well. And we need to see California endorsements and policies that reflect the progressive values that predominate here in California. So thank you. I'd like to popcorn to Elisa Victory.
Thanks, Alan. Evening, everybody. My name is Elisa Victory. I am from Oakland, raised in Oakland, currently live in East Oakland, and I'm running with the Social Justice League. I've raised in Oakland, went to school between Berkeley, and got activated as a young person in high school. Oakland Youth Together had chapters at my Berkeley high school where they were teaching us about the state budget, about Prop 13, about the attack on Dreamers. And it was the first time that I had youth teaching me in front of the classroom, and I was being taught by freshmen in high school. And that was my first kind of introduction that I didn't need permission to lead, and that young people definitely still know enough and are ready to lead at any age, especially in high school. And so I've been very invigorated and fired up ever since that to work for justice wherever I may find it. I've done a lot of coalition building with LGBT communities, with other racial justice communities. In San Diego, I worked with indigenous communities, which San Diego actually has the most federally registered recognized tribes, and learning a lot about indigeneity and sovereignty work down there. Done a lot of work with APIs, with Southeast Asian young leaders when I was in high school, and have carried that into my present day life and work. I went to UC San Diego and studied ethnic studies and Black studies, but while I was there, I was organizing. I helped to found the Black Resource Center that still stands there today, that's almost tripled in its size and in its staffing and its budget. And I'm really about building institutions that I may not benefit from or see myself, but that other people will. That other people will be benefited by, not just myself or the people there in this moment. I am an attorney. I currently practice in police practices and criminal justice with the ACLU of Northern California. I'm also labor counsel to Communication Workers of America 9415, which is based in the city of Oakland. So I'm a workers' rights champion. I've also been a low-wage worker. I've also worked for minimum wage. I've worked for no wages as a student worker and as an intern, and helped other folks get wages when they were being deprived of their basic rights. And so that's how I got my start into legal practice, and I'm now doing criminal justice work. Throughout most of the state, my office covers 48 out of our 58 counties. I'm running to represent those that are underrepresented and marginalized within the Democratic Party. As my other slate mates have said, our party is not reflective or representative of our democracy. It does not reflect Black voters and our participation in getting Democrats elected here, nor in the rest of this country. I've partnered with my 5 Black Slate mates and Slate mates across, Black ADEM candidates across the state to roll out the Elect Black ADEMs campaign. That racial justice is not just something I talk about, it's something I do and something I'm doing right now in how I'm running this campaign and trying to engage people. Just before this call, I was on a Zoom discussion with Black nurses, with nurses who are Latina, with nurses who are down in the 49th district, all the way in Southern California. We were talking collectively and collaboratively about what needs to change in the Democratic Party, how we can all be a strong progressive voice. And that's exactly what I'm doing with this slate, is bringing all of our progressive voices together and really aligning the Democratic Party with what our groups and our community members have been doing on the ground for decades, for generations, right? The Democratic Party controls my city of Oakland. We have Democratic leadership only. Nobody runs as a Republican here. We have a democratically controlled government. Our governor is Democratic. We have a supermajority of Democrats in our state, and yet we still have poverty on the rise. We still have homelessness on the rise. We have people who don't have access to healthcare during a global health pandemic. So being under Democratic leadership sometimes doesn't look much different than being under other parties' leadership. And we need to change that. It has to mean something to say you're a Democrat, it has to mean something to say you're progressive. It's not just about lip service, it's about really putting tangible representation to get people material resources they need to survive and to thrive and to have healthy communities. I'm running with this amazing slate, and I champion all of our platform topics and issues, but I'm definitely go hard for racial justice because I believe that underlies and intersects almost every other issue that we have listed. And I'm definitely about police reform, police accountability, and defunding the police. As we see, they're not meant to keep everybody safe. They're here to reinforce racial order and economic order as well. So I'm looking forward to discussing more with you all, hearing what your questions are, and I just hope that I can be the best representative possible if elected to AD 18. I'm going to popcorn it. Let me see who hasn't gone. To Quinn Costello. Did you go already, Quinn?
No, I haven't. I can jump in. Thank you so much. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be on this slate with everybody, and very nervous. I'm also a first-time candidate and totally out of my comfort zone, but here goes. My name is Quinn Costello. I use he, him pronouns. I'm a lifelong activist working on behalf of Democratic candidates ever since I was a little kid in Idaho, going door to door canvassing with my dad. So I have like 40 years of experience of being disappointed by Democrats. As an activist in California, my fellow slate mate, Catherine O'Toole, also my fiance, and I helped to organize to flip the 10th and 21st congressional districts to the Democrats in 2018. Felt good to take back the House, but my heart was really in organizing closer to home here in Oakland, alongside with my comrades at East Bay DSA. And after Bernie Sanders announced his candidacy with a heavy emphasis on universal health care, we got to work organizing. And we got hundreds of canvassers out. We won Alameda County on behalf of Medicare for All, a Green New Deal, a humane social housing policy, went door to door to door talking to people about all these things and just saw the power of that kind of politics. Not me, us, meant that to me that politics had to be powered by movements from the bottom up, never the top down. And while that campaign ultimately ended up coming up short, I believe those ideas won California. And carrying on the spirit of that campaign, I believe we must focus on achieving single-payer healthcare here. It's a labor issue as well as a social justice issue. And with Javier Becerra about to lead the Department of Health and Human Services and Gavin Newsom having already campaigned on this issue, I believe we have a unique opportunity to push him and all of our representatives towards winning this critical demand. It's time. And as an ADEM, I will work my heart out to build bridges between the labor community, elected officials, and activists to build support for statewide single payer. The things we're able to achieve in California can set an example for the entire country. And it would be my total honor to be a delegate of the party to help show that these big progressive ideas that we're all talking about also happen to be really good politics. Thank you very much. And so I'm gonna throw it to, I don't know if there's anyone left to throw it to. I think everyone, oh, Kieran.
Hi. Also, Melody is in here, so after me, I'll popcorn to
Perfect.
Melody. Hi, I'm Kieran Darkwater. My pronouns are they, them. I'm here for pretty much the same reasons that everyone else has articulated. There's not much representation of what we actually look like in the party itself. I am disabled and queer and trans, and I don't see anyone in leadership who like reflects my experience and the experiences of people like me. So I'm running to like add that perspective to the Democratic Party, because the way I see everything, and one of my slate mates mentioned this earlier, is that it's all connected. Everything, we all live on intersections, and everything is connected. Every issue is connected, like housing justice and climate justice and racial justice and economic justice. Like all of these things are related and intersect with each other. So it's something that like you can't really separate out, because these are all intertwined. And so I am a firm believer in being the change that I want to see in the world. And instead of constantly being fed up with why the Democrats, constantly push queer and trans people under the bus to like move on with whatever it is that they want, and like are very top down and don't listen to the grassroots. I've also spent my lifetime doing grassroots organizing. So I come at this from a perspective of we need to have the voices on the ground and the people doing the work reflected in the state party and in the state institutions. So I'm hoping to bring that to the table along with my wealth of experience, like everyone else in the slate. I am so proud to be running with all of you. You're all badasses and I love it. And yeah, like that's basically the long and short of it. Is I feel like my community needs more representation / any representation. And I'm really excited to work with everyone in order to bring the change that we've been working on the ground for this whole time, and hopefully remove some of the obstacles we've been encountering. And I will pass it to Melody.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah, we
Okay.
hear you.
Okay. Hey, Friday night, happy Friday. Oh boy, you guys all put me to shame. I'm just an old lady who see a lot of problems out here. And as a Democrat, I've been a Democrat all my life. Well, when I got 18, a Democrat, and I almost gave up hope until Pamela Price ran for the election. I threw myself back in there. So the bug has hit me, but it was really always there. It's just that I got to be a young mom at an early age. So my life was just basically trying to raise a family. Okay. But then when I started working for Alameda County, I saw a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff in big wigs and everything, and things just going kaput. And then I worked at the Register of Voters for 5 years, so I saw a lot of stuff going down. So when I got to work for the sheriff department, that's when I really saw the unjust. And we're all here for different things. You guys all spoke well. I'm proud of you guys. And I'm here for the same thing. We got to get this thing right. I mean, I'm tired of us not doing the right thing. My main thing is education, because the children, when you get them in school and learn them things, like Elisa was saying how she learned things in school. We could teach our kids to be better people. you know, and so that would help our world, especially United States, to get to be better. And so, and I do childcare. My other thing that I do is childcare, quality childcare that keeps California working. So I'm excited. I talk about politics everywhere I go, from the church to the club. And so, but I want to be a microphone to everyday people. And it's more and more of us being everyday. Since this pandemic hit, a lot of people are not working. They can't eat, can't pay bills. So we're almost all as one, believe it or not. And if you think about it, we all are struggling. Anybody that's making under $150,000 is struggling. So I'm totally excited, almost without words, which is strange. But I know I can be your microphone, and I'm hoping that I can get your vote for this. And like the Bible says, we're all alike-minded in one way or another. So thank you and God bless you.
Melody, you're too modest. You have been an advocate and a community organizer for many, many years.
Is there anyone left who is here? I don't think so. We had some people who were gonna come in a little bit late. So my question to the audience is, do you have any other questions that you would like us to answer? They can even be silly and fun because we all need that. I'm so excited to just like be here with all of you. This is amazing. And I'm so excited to get to know everyone.
I have a question. Hi there, my name is Brenda, and I'm really excited about this slate. I got a text the other day from a different slate, which was the Progressive Labor Unity slate, and I was curious if you might be able to tell me about how this, what brings you guys together on a slate and how you might be different from that other slate, if you happen to know.
Who wants to take those questions? Maybe we can.
Alan's got it.
Alan?
The Progressive Unity Slate from the Labor Slate has some good people on it. One way that we're different is we're being more specific on the progressive policies we're asking for. So specifically Medicare, single payer Medicare, and other things we're being more specific on. The other slate is not being as specific on those issues.
And I'll just also add to, we weren't selected or picked or persuaded to run by any elected official. We are all running independently as grassroots community activists and advocates who have been on the ground doing community work for our whole careers, essentially. And so that's really what we're trying to bring to the party, being unbossed, not being, persuaded or, financially, incentivized to support any particular issue, not accepting any money from corporate lobbyists or corporate interests, or being, persuaded to advocate on behalf of any corporate or corporation, or corporate entity. That's really what we're about and what we're bringing to the party. And so I think that's what distinguishes us.
I would just add, when Andrea kind of set the stage for what is an ADEM, if you were on the beginning, if not, this is recorded, you can watch it back, but there's 3 legs to this stool, and some of them are already delegates that are put up by elected officials, including our assembly person, Rob Bonta. So the whole point of these elected ADEMs is to be elected by the residents and the public of our district, and to truly represent those folks on the ground, not people who have any connections to the electeds, who've been asked to run, who have some type of, relationship or already work with the electeds, right? And a lot of those people who are close to the elected officials are those who are already entrenched, who are already the status quo, who are incumbents, who are the same type of people who are already very active. And so, as Rodney said, we kind of organically came together recognize we need to have a really true progressive slate that is not attached to elected officials and won't have any conflict of interest. This is extremely important to me working in the criminal justice space because Mr. Rob Bonta, our assemblyman, is interested in running for a California Attorney General, right? That person will seek endorsements and support from the Democratic Party, from delegates. So there will be conflicts that can arise when people are put up by electeds that they may have to then support or vote against on things or be holding them accountable. So the independence is really important about our slate and how we've come together and how we're doing all of this based on our own grit, our own networks, and our own organizations that we can leverage.
And
Great.
I'd like to speak
Mhm.
also on when we put the slate together, it was so important for me to find these folks that were independent, that were not attached to anything, because they truly represent the community and they're truly there for what we're looking for, what we're actually, what we need. I mean, we really only get that 1/3 of those delegates. Everything else is already, planned out, and they have already selected all these folks to fill in those seats. So 1/3 is really nothing compared to the 2/3 majority they already have. So they have a huge advantage. They have a huge, what is it called? They can dominate what the platforms are going to be. They can dominate what the conversation is going to be about. But us putting in progressive, putting in people that actually speak for the community, we can help push and direct those conversations and change those conversations so they don't become the officials that control it. It becomes really us and the people that they're supposed to represent.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This
That
is
was
an open forum, so please, everybody feel comfortable to ask questions and speak up. So Rodney, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's a great question. Yeah, keep them coming.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh, I don't want to jump in on anybody. This is Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
Hey, Sherry.
Hi. I am with Andrea in the Central Committee and have been an activist in the area too. And I'm kind of wondering, you guys are all so wonderful and have so many great ideas. If you are elected as a delegate, are you interested in more activism within the party and other roles and even running for office? Anybody?
I can go first. For a little bit of context, I didn't even know that this was a role that existed until I got the email in November. And so, yeah, I am very much looking forward to like using the position and the tools that we have to advance for the changes that we've been working for on the ground. And I believe that naturally means getting involved and doing the work in the party. To be very honest, I don't know how the makeup of this works, or like if it's like the county Dems where there's races for chairs and co-chairs and secretaries and whatever. I imagine there's some element to that. And I'm down to be doing the work just like I have been while doing grassroots organizing. I see these as two like complementary things, or two things that should be complementary, where we need people to be acting on the ground and we need people in the institutions making it easier for the people on the ground to move that change forward. Hopefully that answers your question. Does anyone else have thoughts?
This is Elisa. Thanks for your question, Sherry, and congratulations on your election. I'm definitely interested, if elected and once elected to this position as delegate, would definitely want to do more to get involved and to really, get my feet wet in the Democratic Party. I've attended a lot of conventions. I've attended a lot of Young Dems events, and I'm a member of local clubs. But at all of the convention and statewide things, I don't always feel very welcome or engaged, or that there's not a lot for me to do, like if I'm not a delegate. And so I think really trying to find ways to, again, always keep in mind that we're trying to open up the party, make it more inclusive and reflective. And the whole point of us getting elected internally is to be able to do that work within the structure to open it up and bring more of our folks in. So I'm gonna still be committed to all the things I'm doing on the ground and outside of the Democratic Party, but my whole goal in joining the Slate and deciding to run is to take that organizing and that power and that voice inside the Democratic Party. So the more caucuses and other groups and bodies inside that we can join and be loud and proud about, the more that I think we will reach the change that we are campaigning on.
So as an activist first, I'm much more interested in supporting the campaigns of people like Elisa Victory, especially with that last name. But but I see running as a delegate as one element of that activism. So I will go this far. So again, I could potentially do some more within the delegate, within the party, but I would probably not seek other office such as city council member. That's not really my speed. I much prefer to be on the street doing activism, knocking doors, that sort of thing.
For me, and thank you for the question, Sherry. Oh, there you go. Okay. For me, honestly, I just want to see how this experience is going to be. I would like to use it to inspire other Black, queer, and trans people to move, into public service. However, regardless of, the outcome, I'm going to still be committed to community. That's never going to change. But yeah, like this is my first time, running for public office. So I just want to see how this experience is going to be first. I've never really thought of being a quote unquote career politician. I'm just really passionate about Oakland, the people of Oakland, and in California in general. I love my state as well. So I will see how this experience will be before making that decision.
I'll just hop in real quick here too. Oh, Rabia, you want to go? I'm sorry. Did you want to go first, Rabia?
Sure. Sherry, thank you for your question. And honestly, there have been times when I have sort of thought about, what would it be like to run for office after ADEM? And because I sort of saw being an ADEM as preparatory, where you learn the ropes, where you get exposed to how politics works on the inside. And I'll be quite honest with you. There are times when I still flirt with that idea. I think I could be really good at it. But at the same time, I am a true progressive, and I know that the wheels grind very slowly when it comes to politics and change. And I would have to wonder if I'd be patient with that slow grinding process when I know that there's so much that needs to happen so quickly to get everything that we feel so passionate about done. So yeah, I thought about it. I still toss it around occasionally. I think besides my own aspirations, other people would have to see my gifts and my strengths and support that. And so that's where I stand. But thank you again, Sherry.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry, for that question. And I would, have to say, similar to Alan and Kieran, I really don't have a desire to run for office. I'm really running to, I'm a lifelong community organizer. I've been in politics for almost over a decade. I've worked at the federal, state, and local level. And in 2019, I started my own political consulting company to help identify candidates and progressives like everyone on my slate who I could support and help to run their campaigns. And that's really what my passion is. And so my sole mission for this campaign is to kick the door open for other Black and queer folks who come from underrepresented and marginalized communities, who don't feel like they have a voice in our political process, to show them that they do, and that their voice matters, and that their experience matters, and that it doesn't matter, where you come from, how old you are, what you look like, what your skills and abilities are, what career or profession you are, what language you speak, or what country you were born in. You matter, your life matters, your voice matters, and you deserve to have representation that looks like you and that speaks to the issues that matter to you and your community. And the California Democratic Party has failed to do that, in my opinion. And so that's what I'm running to do, is to be that voice and to be that champion for those issues, and to make sure that we hold this party accountable for the values that they espouse. Because we are, supporting this party, we're electing these candidates time and again. As we talked about, our assembly member, God bless him, he did not run opposed. And so he has been in office for a very long time. And yet and still, we see the issues in our communities. We see our, homelessness problem. We see our unhoused neighbors. We're in a global pandemic, and yet and still, we can't find housing for our most marginalized and vulnerable citizens. And yet our politicians are taking photo ops and pictures and things of that nature. So that's what this is about for me: transparency and accountability, holding these people accountable to their constituents and making them work for the offices that they hold. They are getting paid on our tax-paying dimes, and we need to see results. This is not, just a free walk in the park. We want to see results, and we want to hold these people accountable, and that's what this is all about for me.
Wow. You guys all had great answers. I wish you all were elected and were our officials right now.
I see Tony's hand is up, and Alyssa, but I'm going to jump real quick because we have a candidate that just joined us, if that's okay with everyone. If he can, if Richard, you wanted to come and join us and introduce yourself.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. I'm Richard Snow. Some of you may have heard of my name. I ran for the San Leandro School Board this past November, and was really happy to be entering into the community as a progressive member who is specifically focused on achieving equity in education. It's really important to me. I have a family that's a Chinese family, and just growing up in the community, being a part of their experience that they've let me share in has really continued to reinforce the fact that the best place to ensure that our communities are prepared to fight intolerance, hate, and bigotry is to start young and in education, to teach them the truth of our history and the truth of what's happening today, to give them the ability to be prepared as active and involved citizens, so that we can really change our communities. And so I'm hyper focused on that particular item, and ensuring that education is not something that you're graded on, and if you don't have a great grade, then you're somehow less of a community member. Education is something that is to be provided to everyone, and in order for them to continue to have healthy and productive lives, however that is measured.
Awesome, thank you. Tony, you had a question, you had your hand up, and then I'll, Alyssa.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be able to speak after Rodney, because I'm a member of the Alameda Renters Coalition. We worked for 4 years and we got rent control in Alameda finally last year. I believe that housing is a human right. I believe it is at the essence, it's at the utmost of social justice. People cannot fight for social justice if they don't have secure housing, if they're living in a car, worried about keeping their kids warm, worried not having a job. You can't fight for social justice when you're living in circumstances like this. We need to fight for the basic rights for people to be able to raise them up. I also love all of the comments you guys have made, and I love all the fact that you guys are young. I'm a lot older. So I'm glad to see that young people are coming into this this venue, but I would like to caution a little bit about speaking in generalities. We've got to dedicate ourselves to specific laws and get them passed. It isn't just good enough to be pontificatory about social justice and we need to change things and everything. we need to specifically change certain laws. And one of these that I'm interested in changing is Costa-Hawkins, which is a discriminatory housing law. And twice it has been on the ballot, and twice our Democratic governor has not endorsed it. We need to do something about that. We need to get that in the platform. If you guys are only going to be 1/3 of the delegates, what chance do we have to get that in the platform? You have to fight for specific laws, and you have to fight for a condemnation or some kind of a censure on elected Democratic officials who do not endorse the platform laws, such as no on repealing Costa-Hawkins. So I really hope to see a little bit more specificity, if that's such a word, in your actions. If you get elected, good luck to all of you. Go out and fight for specific laws in addition to your general statements. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that up, Tony. I actually had worked on Prop 10, Prop 15, and a few other propositions over the years to repeal Costa-Hawkins. As someone who has been displaced, I also have experience being houseless. And I have people who are close to me, you know, who are currently experiencing the same things, right? And we all know with COVID and the eviction moratoriums that things aren't going to get better anytime soon, right? And so we actually, I do agree. I think a lot of folks are, of course, passionate about the current events that have happened this week, but I'm sure I can speak for myself and, you know, others on the slate. You know, when we're speaking about, you know, equity and justice, housing is definitely at the forefront of that. And so I totally agree with you. And that is something that is very important to me personally. But I just wanted to put that out there that I do agree. Like, let's get to, you know, the specifics, such as, you know, housing. We can, you know, get into, you know, more specifics about what defunding the police or refunding community looks like. So thank you for bringing that up.
No, and I'll just also jump in since you mentioned my name, Tony. I also support repealing Costa-Hawkins. Like I kind of mentioned in my introductory comments, I've been working in housing for the past several years. My organization sponsored a number of bills in the last legislative session. And this year, we're going to be really working to push hard on eviction protections for our tenants because, you know, we are in the midst of potentially what could be a tsunami of evictions in the midst of a global health pandemic. And so we need our governor to lead on housing. We need him to lead on protecting tenants' rights. We need rent control in our cities. We need our cities to be held accountable for not meeting their affordable housing production goals. Cities are actually actively fighting to stop to build affordable housing. Like, what sense does that make? When we are in the midst of a humanitarian homelessness crisis, cities are denying building permits for nonprofit affordable housing developers to build affordable housing and supportive housing for the most vulnerable residents in our communities. So I'm 100% on board with you. I'm all about getting with the specifics. I'm going to be very actively holding the party accountable to repeal 209 because we need affirmative action in the state of California. We need to support our small businesses, our minority businesses who have been crippled by the COVID pandemic. And we need leadership to champion these causes. And so I'm absolutely 100% on board with that. And I'll be holding all of our elected officials accountable to those issues.
Andrea?
Yeah. Yes, Austin. Hi.
Hi. I just want to thank you. My name is Austin Tam. I was part of ADEM until I was elected with Andrea for the Central Committee. I just want to thank you all for running. I'm a disability activist, social justice advocate, and one with a disability. And I've been, it's been, you know, it's nice, I think, to share in commonalities with other people who share the same views and on housing, tenants' rights, social justice, Palestine, Philippines, different. I think it's like when you go to the convention, when, you know, it's probably gonna be a Zoom, but it's you know, I actually, you know, as an Asian American person, I was like, man, there's not very many progressive Asians. I mean, oh my God, I was like, I was in heaven just meeting all these, you know, progressive. It's unfortunate. People used to say, oh, people of color are all progressive. Like, just because you're people, you know, I was always, you know, I mean, it's just like whatever, you know. I mean, it should be that way, but also, you know, we have been complicit. We've been complicit in every way, shape, or form. Like we know how to spend billions of dollars to Israel, but we don't know how to. We can't spend money on our own stuff here. They spent another $1 billion like a few weeks ago. When we need money here, when we need money for school and education and for the homeless, and we have money. You know, the thing is, when they say we have no money, it's kind of like there is a box over there that, and I even told one of the politicians, you guys have the super majority. But then they said, oh, we have conservative Democrats in our party. But I'm like, I mean, that's the thing. You can have a super majority and still have all Democrats and still, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. And this is why, this ADEM thing is so confusing. Because when I tell people vote for us, right? Most people will just say, I trust you, Austin. Just, you know, I'll vote for whoever you tell me to vote for. But they're like, what is this about? I said, this is the bureaucracy. And I'm sorry, I'm part of the bureaucracy because we're running for this. But it's because we wouldn't have to do this kind of crap if it wasn't, you know, if we didn't have to, right? But that's what I like. I want people to run that are just you and I and just random use to people you see. But I'm sorry, I went random rave. I want to do a comment, that's all. But I want to, you know, I'm glad that I came tonight because I made no mistake pushing your names out to about 140 people. And I've been doing it all night. I stayed up until 4 in the morning yesterday. I said, I'm going to reveal that I'm going to support this whole slate. People got mad at me, but you know, I'm from Alameda, right? I'm from the city of Alameda, and there's Alameda people on there, but I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not going to go for that Alameda thing. I'm voting for all Oakland people, Oakland and San Leandro people, sorry. But thank you. You are all inspired. And I envy you all because when we ran for ADEMs, we had a campaign in line. We had to make sure the next person in line wasn't voting for someone else. I mean, man, like just have the time of your life right now because this is, you know, thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Melissa, I see your hands up.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Melissa Mallory. I'm actually an 80-20, but I ran for Central Committee of Alameda County on a slate with Austin, Sherry, and Andrea, and won. And I'm so inspired and excited to see all of you and hear your voices and see such an amazing slate for 8018. And, you know, thank you all for stepping up and running because running for office is never easy. And I was recently also elected as the first non-binary school board trustee in New Haven Unified School District in Union City. And so one thing our slate had was that we all took a corporate free pledge. And it's really interesting because I was just texted today to ask if I would sign something supporting Rob Bonta for Attorney General. And my response was, unfortunately, I've taken a pledge to only support corporate free candidates. So I'm asking all of you as candidates, would you take a similar pledge?
I think,
Yes, this is Melody.
Yes, this is Rodney.
Yeah, I feel like
Yes, this is
there was a thing going around that involved like not supporting candidates who accept cop money or money from a bunch of like these institutions that are really problematic. And I do agree with that. And I did sign on to that like idea of yes, actually we're going to put our like work and our money where our mouths are and like support people who are doing this for the right reasons.
Yeah, specifically the pledge I took was to not endorse or support any candidate which took money from the fossil fuel industry, corporate real estate development, law enforcement, the healthcare insurance, and pharmaceutical industries, for-profit, incarceration, charter schools, or any organization or corporation directly benefiting these industries.
Same.
I co-sign all of that. And I think that, one of the things, there was a lot that was really frustrating about this last round of like presidential primaries. But one of the things that I thought was pretty cool was that there's a lot more consciousness, it seems, coming out that it's like, you cannot, on the one hand, advocate for these progressive ideas, and on the other hand, be kept afloat by a raft of corporate money. It just doesn't work. And the great thing is that we're also seeing now that you don't have to necessarily. There's a different path. People like AOC are showing us the way. You can build, there's a real appetite for these progressive ideas, and it doesn't necessarily have to then mean that you then also need to like raise all of this extra money. So I think it's really exciting, and that has to be a huge priority for the Democratic Party at the state level to continue to kind of codify and solidify around that idea that like, no, we cannot, we have to choose one or the other, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just want to rise to support everything that's been said.
And I'll keep it real short. I'm running for community, not corporations.
One of the things that I really dislike about politics is that you have to raise money because we've created a system that the only way that you can be a part of it is if you've got some rich uncle money bags, corporations or other ones that have an agenda. I think we should make it so that everyone should be able to be involved in the body politic and not have to be a person of, quote, means or have friends of means in order to get through that. So taking a pledge not to accept corporate money is easy. Making a pledge to make it so that corporate money is no longer needed in order to get voices heard is a pledge that I want to take.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your answers. I hope you all get elected and that we can add taking money out of publicly financing campaigns to the Democratic Party platform sometime soon.
Thank you, Melissa, for the question. Well, is anybody else on here that would like to ask a question of the candidates? Candidates
yeah,
wanted to make it. Oh, I'm sorry.
A question. I have so there's been some discussion of defunding the police, and so when surveys, when there's polls for how many people support defunding the police, it generally polls fairly low. But then when people ask if they support reinvesting funding in police to social workers, that ends up polling a lot higher, sometimes like 2 or 3 times as high. So while I definitely 100% support the policies behind the slogan defund the police, I do worry sometimes that progressives may speak in a way that could potentially alienate people that might actually back your policies, and also open you up to deliberate and malicious misinterpretations of your words from conservative activists and media members. So I'm just wondering if you think that's an important thing to consider, and like how you consider it.
I think it's important to consider. I think it's important to consider, and me personally, defund means defund, and I think it's a word that scares people. We're not saying abolish, right? We're saying defund, and conservatives will take that word and use it as a scare tactic, for a community. We have seen the cuts that are currently happening as we continue, talking about defund, and some of them, I think, and when I say cuts, like cuts to where police are currently, like, for example, my friend who was just robbed downtown, right? There's talks that, you know, there won't be any walking beat officers after a certain period of time this month, right? I work in the cannabis community, and there were multiple robberies of dispensaries over the summer that could have been avoided if OPD had communicated to dispensaries and, you know, cannabis operators that certain things can, you know, be going on. I feel that a lot of these scare tactics are them just blatantly neglecting folks to instill more fear of not having police presence. That's what we need to be actually discussing. And when we discuss defunding, really explaining where those funds could go for services, right? We all are aware of the housing crisis, but COVID has also exacerbated issues for people who are dealing with mental health issues, and there is no services that's, you know, going towards that, right? Also, when we're discussing, you know, defunding, like how those funds can benefit youth and youth service programs that can keep our youth, you know, out of harm's way and offering, you know, more options. If we have to have the honest conversations, and if people don't understand what defunding actually means, then how else can we say it, right? This isn't a comfortable situation that we're in, so I don't believe that we need to use comfortable language when we're trying to create, you know, this type of radical transformation, shall I say.
I have Alyssa on the queue and then Rabia.
For the question, Troy, I'll piggyback a bit off of what Cheney said, in that, you know, it is, you know, the language is necessary because we're not dealing with something that's lighthearted. These are real lives at stake, real communities that have been harmed, people who have their loved ones that are disappeared forever, that are in the ground prematurely because of police violence and terror. I use whatever language or semantics the person I'm speaking to or addressing can understand and meet me with. I'm trying to meet people where they're at, because when I was growing up, it was fuck the police. I was abolish the police. So this language is a lot more nice and packaged, where people can try to understand and trying to point to policies where before it was just eliminate them, abolish the police. And it was using the language of abolition because it's an understanding that policing is a remnant of slavery, right? So are you about abolishing slavery, or are you about reforming it? The same thing goes with policing in our carceral state, in the way that a lot of organizers and spaces I've been in have used it. So again, if I'm talking to folks who that scares them, they've never had a bad experience with police, then I have to approach it in a slightly different way and talk about, well, they've actively already defunded our schools, defunded our healthcare, defunded mental health services, and then replaced that with police who are not nearly as effective in those areas at all. So if you want your child who's having some crisis at school with learning or just with behavior, whatever they want to call it, would you rather they go and be intercepted into criminal justice system as a child, or do you want them to have real services and real support? And a lot of times when you can put things in those terms of, do you really think that folks should be coming with a badge, with a gun, with tanks, with other types of weapons, to situations where none of that is already present, right? So police are part of the problem and continuum of violence in our country, of terror in our country. It's not statistically proven that having more police means our communities are more safer, because police are fully funded right now. Just because we have calls to defund doesn't mean that any cities have actually done it. Doesn't mean our state has actually done it. The police are fully funded, right? OPD has Bearcats, has tanks, has all types of specialty impact weapons, while people are out here lined up around the block for free food bags, right? Where people are sleeping in tents. So it is about budgets and priorities, and these are public dollars, right? People can hire private security and all that extra stuff if they want, but it's about what is the public needs and how is our budget meeting those needs. And right now it's not, and it's very clearly shown that it's bloated into law enforcement, policing criminal justice budgets that are not serving, they're not preventing, they're not even very good at solving crime, right? So there has to be other types of solutions and services that can fulfill our community more than police.
Rabia, and then Marissa and Richard.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if any of you can remember when Urban Shield was an issue and we were out in the streets in Oakland fighting against Urban Shield and the immense amounts of money being given to the police departments and sheriff department to buy what I call toys for cops, tanks, as Alyssa pointed out, guns, assault rifles, things to use against peaceful protesters in the streets of Oakland. And these are the things the money's being spent on. Because if you ask anybody who lives in Oakland, as I do, I don't see the presence of police when they're most needed. My friend was robbed downtown Oakland just on Wednesday. They broke the glass out in his SUV and took his laptop and other things. So we're having a rash of burglaries and car robberies, and yet many of us don't even know about it. Why is that? Because nobody's communicating this, because the police isn't really doing anything about it. The other emphasis I'd like is that mental health is a big part of this. The police should not be responding to mental health calls. And the great majority of calls the police respond to in Oakland there's some element of them that is related to mental health. If we have, and I believe Cahoots, I think there's a group here in Oakland, I was working with them loosely for a while, who's working on a plan to have a mental health response team here that's modeled loosely on Cahoots, which is a group out of Oregon, I believe, Portland, who have been actually doing this, who have taken this piece from the police department, and we're not using the police to respond to mental health calls. And that's the majority of what they do. So if we started looking at that differently, and if we started looking at what are the cops really truly doing, then we can better see how to defund them safely, and how to reallocate those funds so that they go for the things that are really badly needed. So that's how I see it.
Marissa?
Yeah, I have very little to add and won't repeat all those. Fully agree. I think, thank you for this question. And I think it really comes down to a question of strategy and messaging. And we see over and over that Fox News and centrist Democrats attack progressive radical language and turn it into something that's toxic. And we need to defund the police. So we together as movements and progressives need to figure out a way to message around that. And yeah, that of course that looks like adjusting your messaging and how you speak about an issue depending on who you're talking to. And it, a lot of the time really looks like white people needing to do this work with their white friends and family who have never had a bad interaction with the police and live in an entirely different world. But, I think most people, even across the political spectrum, you'll find if you show them city budgets and you talk about what they care about, it's not at all what most people would say they want for their families or their kids or their communities. And, I think we need to stick strong to what we're fighting for and back it up with really strong strategy, because that's what's needed. And that's what brilliant people in the brilliant movements that are leading this work have also seen is working too. And, at the height of the uprisings this summer, there was enormous popular support for Black Lives Matter and even much higher public support for defunding the police. And then, when Fox News gets a hold of that, and then when mainstream Democrats feel the pressure, they go in on what progressives are fighting for. So I think, you know, whatever it is that we're fighting for, it's going to be attacked. Joe Biden is getting called a socialist, and it couldn't be further from the truth. So, you know, we have to set the agenda, and it's a great question, and it's a really hard one. But I think, you know, when it comes down to it, it's up to our movements to present a really strong vision that is rooted in values, and get people to come to our side, because we have to start from what we need and go from there.
Richard?
Yeah. So police are the result of, excuse me, police are the product that you buy in a fear-based economy. And as long as we continue to peddle fear about our neighbors and our communities and of other people, people will continue to buy that product of policing. We have to educate ourselves and our communities that all this fear peddling that goes on by, quite honestly, a lot of folks has to stop. It's rooted in just ignorance and intolerance, and that's why I'm hyper focused once again. I'm over on education. You know, teach children that they don't have to fear the kid sitting next to them. They don't have to fear someone who comes from a different country, who has a different belief system. They should learn about that. And when you remove fear, then you stop buying these fear products, which are guns and police. And pretty soon you start changing the conversation so that people aren't talking about, oh, I need police in my schools, or I need police to have, you know, extra tanks and weapons and guns and all kinds of stupid stuff. Instead, you talk about, hey, we've got people who really need help and support, who are, you know, who need homes, who need food, who need health, and you start redirecting funds that way. Yeah, it's a tough conversation because I grew up in a part of the country where, you know, guns and, you know, police were, you know, next to heroes, and that's just, it's wrong. But it was through fear. They taught us fear. They teach us fear in schools, and until we remove that fear equation, it's going to be a tough conversation, because the older people, that's all they've ever been taught. They've been taught to fear. They see it in the media. They see it in their movies. They see it every time they open up a paper. And so we just have to get folks to re-educate themselves across the spectrum.
Rodney?
Yeah, I won't belabor this point. I agree with a lot of what has already been said, but I will just add that, you know, if we look back to the races, the Senate races in Georgia this week, both candidates were attacked relentlessly on the defund the police platform, although neither candidate supported defunding the police. And they won regardless, with over, you know, 50% of the vote in a state that hadn't voted for a Democrat in years. And had never elected a Black Democrat. And they ran and they won because they were unapologetic about what they stood for and what their values were and what they were about and what they were going to fight for. And so for us, defund the police is a very important issue, and I think we shouldn't run from it. But I do think that we do have to do the education, do the voter registration, and bring new folks into the Democratic Party who understand why it's important. And I'll just say one more thing from a political standpoint. If you're running a campaign in Oakland or in the Bay Area and you're seeking voters who don't understand what defund the police means, you are probably running in the wrong race because this is not a confusing issue for the majority of Bay Area residents. We understand how important it is that our budgets reflect our values, and policing clearly is not something that we should be prioritizing in the midst of a global health pandemic, in the midst of a homelessness crisis, in the midst of a poverty crisis. There are far more important ways that we could be spending our tax dollars, and not to supporting police departments who clearly are abusing their discretion and their authority, and abusing and misabusing our citizens and their civil rights. So that's my 2 cents.
I did want to share that when we were first putting the slate together and we were talking about the platforms that we wanted to, you know, publish on the slate, we had this conversation within the group, and it was one of those things. It's like, no, we have to be unapologetic. This is what it's called. This is what we want to call it. We don't want to change it and take away from what it really means. So I just wanted to share that real quick, that we did have this conversation when we were, talking about the platforms. Kieran, did you want to share something? Sorry.
Yeah, the only thing that I wanted to add, like, first of all, I agree with everything everyone has already said. But the one thing that I wanted to add is sort of like the importance about having defund the police on our platform and using that language is because then we have conversations like this. And I feel like having these conversations about what defunding the police means is more important than worrying about what people are going to feel when they see defund the police, because the important part of our work, both as like on the ground organizers and hopefully in the party organizers, is to have these conversations and talk about why it matters. So I thank you so much for asking this question, because this is the question that I want to be asked, because it allows us to have this conversation, which is vital for any movement and activism that we're going to be doing in the future as we continue this.
Sorry, my computer had went down for a minute. Was there an extra question that I missed at all, or we're still on the?
We were still on the defund.
Still on the same question.
Okay, perfect.
Anybody else have a question for the group?
I love the graphics. My gosh, like people who are like, oh my gosh, I'm like, this thing looks so real. It's like something you would look in a book, but it's like authentic. It's like made. I don't know. Someone made it mysteriously.
It is me.
It was you.
Very good. Very good.
Kieran, thank you.
My secret is Canva, and I have news. It's free and easy. So literally anyone can do this.
Well, it looks great. I just have an announcement. I hope all of you are planning on going to the Alameda Democratic Club meeting on Wednesday. Have you all gotten that information?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's at 7 o'clock, Melody, and
Okay.
I'll send you the Zoom if you haven't gotten it yet.
Okay, please do. Thank you.
But I'm hoping it's going to be a tough audience. There's a lot of conservatism in Alameda, so I'm really delighted to present you.
A neoliberal. you know. I was gonna say one more thing. I was talking trash about shit. Excuse my language, about Democrats, and my mom's like, "Oh my God!" She's like, "You better not tell the Central Committee." I said, "Fuck the Democratic Party. I'm no longer a Democrat." They're like, how did you get elected?" I'm like, "Oh, damn. Yeah, I know, but third party, but maybe I could switch after." Oh, I shouldn't be saying this is recorded, but yeah. Well, I used to I'm hating my own self. I said, I am what I eat. It's like I hate the Democratic Party, but I'm a Democrat. Oh my God.
Yeah, but Austin, we have the opportunity with these wonderful young people.
I know, I'm just kidding.
And with you to change it. And we have been making changes. Rabia has made changes.
Yeah.
Andrea's made changes. You've made changes. I've made changes. It's just awful slow. And these people, I love the comment you made about dynamic Democrats. We're just kind of doing it too slow, and we need to rev it up a little bit.
Lightning speed, come on, man. Okay.
But we have to do it. We have to make the changes that we want to have. I hope you all agree. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for coming and joining me. I'm going to share this video everywhere because I want everybody to see how awesome all of you guys are. And thank you for taking a Friday night to be on this call and joining us. Really appreciate that from all of you. And I'm so excited. I got to know all of you guys, and I'm just so, I want to plug you guys in on everything. So I want to thank you again. The fight continues. It doesn't stop here. So I'm hoping that after these elections, we start putting resolutions together. We start putting things together on how we can get some of this shit done. So Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, and thank you for your time, and love you guys. Have a great night, and let's get this rolling. Let's get everyone registered to vote. You know, we want everyone to vote for the Social Justice League. You know, there's heroes here. We don't need to wear capes, even though Karen has an awesome cape. But let's do this, everybody.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you,
We
guys.
have Andrea, before you go, do we have a link we could put up for people to register?
Absolutely, yes. So I put it up on the chat as well, but I'm going to also email everyone that registered for this meeting. I'm going to do a follow-up and send them a copy of the video and the link so they can register. So.
And Cheney, I reminded Aleki, our good friend Aleki, you need to vote.
Thank you.
Nice to see you, Rabia.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming.
Let's defeat neoliberalism. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.